Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 10 of season 4 of the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, where today we're here back for the French Grand Prix. Yes, we're back once again here at Circuit Paul Ricard. If you missed out on the last video, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out from the Canadian Grand Prix. It was certainly one to watch, and of course there will be spoilers in just a moment. So yeah, this is your chance to go back and watch that video. But yeah, heading then into the French Grand Prix, round 10 of the season. We finally have a race victory this season after so many just consistent good point scoring results. You can see our worst result so far of the season is a 7th place finish at the Monaco Grand Prix, despite having a DRS failure mid-race there. Canada, we finally came on top and ended up winning that Grand Prix there. We now have a 13-point lead over Valtteri Bottas in the Drivers' World Championship there. You can see Albon even further back on 116 points there, and a big battle going on between him, George Russell, Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton just in the wings there. But yeah, it seems that 212 Motorsport as well has seen a bit of an upturn in form. After one win in the first 7 races, we have gone back-to-back in the previous 2 there. We had a 1-2 at Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, Hamilton got screwed by strategy at the Canadian Grand Prix, but things are looking good. We've got more and more upgrades going on the car as well, as you can see. Nope, they're all on the car now, so we have some big upgrades coming in then here for the Canadian Grand Prix, you can see. And in terms of the performance, we've got another 2,000 R&D points that we're probably going to keep hold of for a couple more race weekends here. But yeah, things are looking good at the moment. So let's dive in then here to the French Grand Prix. So here we are then, ready for qualifying at the French Grand Prix circuit. Obviously, after winning the last 2 races in a row, the team are feeling strong as we head back to Europe here for a big chunk of races. But the likes of Mercedes still looking very quick here. I said at the end of the last video how we might take some grid penalties this weekend. I'm going to risk it. Might be a bit of a silly strategy, but we really want to try and avoid grid penalties this season. So I'm going to risk keeping the energy store in the car at the moment there. You can see it is costing us ever so slightly from being able to keep a 100% charge. But if we can get through this weekend and the Austrian Grand Prix next time out, then it could really help us in the long run here, right to the end of the season, where we don't have to take any grid pens at any point, and hopefully, therefore, leave us in better stead to try and battle it out for the World Championship here. Trying to think about the long game at the moment, but obviously it could come back to haunt us very quickly as well here. But so far though, this lap felt alright, obviously on the medium tyres. George Russell has done his lap on the soft, so we're going to be a couple of tenths down. They're only a 10th down by the end of Sector 2. If we can set sort of a mid to high 26, we'll probably be looking good. Coming through the final couple of corners then, Hamilton just on a 25.4 on the soft, so everyone clearly not thinking the mediums are going to be worth it this weekend. We come up to the line, it's going to be a 26.5. That is going to put us right on the cusp. We'll get ready to go out for another run, I think. Yeah, you can see we're just under a minute on the clock, then we're going to have to go out for another run in this session. They're down in P12, so clearly that is why no one else thought the medium tyres was going to be good enough here. The field really bunching up over the last couple of weekends, but let's just not take any risks and let's get ourselves nicely slotted back up inside that top 10 here. Should be fairly easy. The car does look incredibly quick this weekend under the hand of Lewis Hamilton, but let's see if we can match him. In through the final couple of corners of this lap then, we're a good 8-9 tenths up on my previous best here, so we're certainly going to find a lot of time as long as we make no mistakes in the final couple of corners. Keep it nice and tidy, get the power down on the exit, and yeah, it's pretty much going to be a 1 second improvement then at the end of qualifying. That should get us nicely through. There we go. P2, that sounds good if you ask me. So having a quick look then at the qualifying 2 results there, Bottas and George Russell seem to be pretty close, but Red Bull, we've seen this before where they just seem to drop back in the halfway stage of the season there. Is it starting to happen again? 8 tenths off, they really just don't seem to have enough this weekend so far there. But Hamilton looking feisty, myself just a 10th off. The same can be said for Valtteri Bottas there. But again, Carlos Sainz, Esteban Ocon both getting through into Q3, as well as Lance Stroll there. Max Verstappen 13th on the grid for Ferrari, less than a second off pole. Not looking good for those guys. So heading into Q3 then, the sun seems to have come back out here on the French coastline, so that's always nice to see. Hopefully a little bit more temperature in the tarmac and give us a little bit more grip here. But we get 2 shots at this in Q3, obviously doing that 1 run in Q2 on the soft compounded tyres here. Hopefully we can just keep it nice and tidy and see if we can get on pole position. Hamilton and Bottas, though, as well as George Russell, looking very, very quick this weekend, so it could be a 4-way dogfight for the front row here. There we go as we dive through Sector 3. Bottas has found another couple of tenths off his Q2 time there, so he's down to a 1:25.3 in this qualifying session, so everyone seems to just be finding a little bit more there. Hamilton at 25.2 though, so just like when they were teammates, Bottas can find some time. Hamilton always just finds a little bit more. This lap's been a bit sloppy from myself, I'll be honest, so it's probably going to be a mid to high 25. It is a 25.5 once again. 3 tenths off Hamilton. We get 1 more shot. Here we go then, getting ready for our final run in qualifying here at the French Grand Prix circuit. We need 2 tenths of a second, unless of course people find even more time, to try and get this car onto the front row of the grid here. At the final corner, really trying to open up the best run that we possibly can here. Such a run to the start-finish line there, but you can see now we've got to try and get this absolutely nailed. Breaking down in towards the first corner there, take a lot of curb on the entry, try and get the car rotated through turn 2 there. Keep it between the white lines. We have gone green in at that first couple of corners. Stamp on the brakes just after the 100-meter board as you head in through the next couple of corners here. So difficult. Try and get the weight transferred across the car. There is a lot of wheel spin as we try and head out of the corner there. George Russell goes even quicker, still in the 25.2s. Hamilton at 25.0. So they are still finding time in this session at the moment there. So we are going to have to absolutely nail this qualifying run at the end of the day. On the brakes once again, just at the 100-meter board there. Attack a lot of curb on the entry and on the exit, it appears there, and that has not helped us out one bit. As you can see there, we're pretty much even on our previous run here. Sector 3 though was where we lost a lot of our time on our previous run, so hopefully if we keep it nice and tidy, we can try and recover a little bit more here. Running very, very deep on the entry. Hopefully it allows us to get a good run on the exit, which it has done there as we head in towards the final couple of corners of this lap there. With 3 tenths up now, this is starting to look a little bit more promising as we've just got 2 more corners left to navigate here. Try and keep it nice and tidy, get the car rotated round down into first gear for the extra rotation, but we run a bit too deep on the exit there, and that's going to cost us a tenth or so as we head towards the finish line. It's going to be a 25.2. It would have been good enough for pole on the first runs. It's only 3rd place though here at the French Grand Prix, so happily that we could split the Mercs to start 3rd place there. But having a look at the final results,
we're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Russell and Mr. Monaco. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, there we are then, the end of qualifying here for the French Grand Prix, and a couple of big surprises there. Hamilton takes 212 Motorsport's 3rd pole position in a row there, but George Russell splitting us on the front row, 24 thousandths of a second clear of myself at the end of qualifying. Bottas still looking very, very feisty, but then an 8-tenth gap back down to Esteban Ocon, who had a fantastic qualifying session for his home Grand Prix there. And look at Red Bull, 9th and 10th on the grid there. Not what they needed ready for the French Grand Prix. They need to try and bounce back in the race. But let's just dive in then here for round 10 of the season from Paul Ricard.
Welcome along then to France, host of the world-famous Tour de France. But we're not talking 2 wheels today, we're talking 4, in a country widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing back in the late 1800s. We've come a long way since then, and you're about to find out how far. It's time for the French Grand Prix. A lap of Paul Ricard then consists of 15 corners and a total length of around 3.6 miles. Drivers will need to position their cars carefully on the exit of the flat-out turn 10, ready for the double apex right-hander at 11. Watch out for potential overtaking action at the end of the start-finish straight and into the heavy braking zone of turn 8. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty. Positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Mr. Monaco, Bottas, Esteban Ocon, and Stroll, Sainz, Leclerc, Albon, and Daniel Ricciardo, Norris, Perez, Max Verstappen, and Kvyat, Gasly, Raikkonen, Kevin Magnussen, and Nick de Vries, Matsushita, King, Giovinazzi, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
So here we are then, ready on the grid for the French Grand Prix, round 10 of the season here. And obviously, if you missed out on the last race, when Hamilton and I started first and third, he completely took us out into the first corner here. I know a lot of you guys are questioning whether we'll try and keep him on after that interesting showing at the start of the Canadian Grand Prix last time out. We haven't made any decisions just yet as to the future driver lineup for the team, but decisions will obviously be made in the very, very near future there. But it's looking like a nice, bright, sunny Grand Prix here from Circuit Paul Ricard. Hopefully we can get down towards turn 1 nice and cleanly and see where we go from there then. Ready on the grid for round 10 of the season here at the French Grand Prix. The 5 red lights are coming on now then. We got Hamilton and Russell on the front, myself just behind. It's 5 red lights and it's lights out. And away we go, off to a fairly respectable start. Not often do we get that, as Hamilton and Russell just defending in towards turn 1 there. Bottas getting right around the outside of us through the first corner, as I think that was Lance Stroll trying to look for a move as well through the first couple of turns there. So not quite in the end what we needed. Our main championship rival, Valtteri Bottas, able to sneak by us on the run down towards turn 1 there. Just we got boxed in on the inside, and Bottas saw an opportunity, and if there's one thing the Finn is good at, it is taking those sorts of moves at the start of a Grand Prix there. But Hamilton leads the way as we head out onto the first half of the massive Mistral straight here from Circuit Paul Ricard. George Russell just behind him still, as Bottas and I just trying to keep up with our 2 teammates here. They have seemed the quicker pairing so far this weekend, but Mercedes have always got good race pace as well here. But it's safe to say we know how to win Grand Prix as well on F1 2020. Heading through the infamous turn 10 right-hander there. We have a look around the outside of Bottas. We have a look right around the outside of Bottas, but we just don't have the bite on the front end on the X there. He just was using the camber much better than I was able to there. And unfortunately, yeah, couldn't quite make a bit of an unorthodox move work, but it certainly would have been a move I would have taken nonetheless. They're down through the final couple of corners, though. Everyone just starting to peter out there. Hamilton doing what Hamilton does best and just trying to break away early on in this Grand Prix. At the final corner, though, Hamilton leads the way. Russell still in second. Bottas in third place there, and we are sat right behind him in fourth. Really trying to use a lot of ERS at the start of this Grand Prix, as Hamilton at 29.1. We don't even get within a second of that at the end of lap 2 there. So Hamilton really trying to push to build up a gap at the start of this Grand Prix. But yeah, like I was saying, we're trying to use a bit of the ERS here, because when the energy store system is quite worn out, the more energy you've got, the quicker it wears. So unfortunately, this car rather good with its ERS management. We haven't really had any issues with it since, what, Season 2, I would have thought, where the power unit is just so well advanced here. But we have got the DRS now on Valtteri Bottas. He, though, has got the DRS on his teammate George Russell, so we're probably not going to be able to make any sort of run work here down at the first half of the Mistral straight. Bottas, though, big lockup. He's going to upset his run into the corner there. He sits on the exit as we're going to try and get a run down in towards the final sector of the lap here. It's a drag race between myself and the Finnish driver there to the outside through turn 10. Not quite enough room to make anything work this time round there, and I don't think we're going to try and make a move through here like we tried on lap 1. But all this is doing is allowing George Russell, and more importantly, my teammate Lewis Hamilton, to romp away in the early stages of this race. And that's not going to help us out as well. If you remember last season, we dropped it on lap 1 here from the French Grand Prix. And now we've done it again. Try and get the car back onto the track there. And we rejoin down in 10th place there. And I got no idea how I just managed that. The bottle job has definitely returned here in Paul Ricard there. Just tried to get on the power that little bit closer to Bottas with the dirty air. The camber falling away from you as well through that final few corners of the track. And now we've got a lot of hard work to do. There we go. Alex Albon looks to be the first man into the pit lane here as we head through the final couple of corners of lap 4. And yeah, really got no idea why Red Bull seem to be struggling so much in this weekend's Grand Prix there as we set a new PB for the Grand Prix as well there. But yeah, really, really struggling as well, actually, with the fuel usage. So yeah, we're going to have to look at that over the next couple of laps. We haven't saved much since the start of the Grand Prix. Obviously, I famously always underfuel the car because it is just so economical. Again, thanks to just how well upgraded the power unit is now on F1 2020. But yeah, just trying to get up to the back of Danny Rick and Charles Leclerc here. Why on earth is the car trying to kill us this weekend? I've struggled so much with the balance of the car since the beginning of the season. Now I really know how Sebastian Vettel feels, but we bottled it a bit less than the German driver in his 2020 Ferrari. Obviously a long-time retiree from the My Team career mode here. But yeah, really, really struggling. Still, we need to get into a rhythm with this car. I don't know if we're just so used to the Season 3 car having unlimited grip, it always felt like. But Season 4, yeah, we've really, really struggled still. And constant little blunders have cost us a chance at what could quite possibly have been quite a big title lead. There we go. Charles Leclerc into the pits at the end of lap 5 there, as well as the first of the Mercedes. So people are starting to think about pitting in. We've got another couple of cars actually in as soon as I say that there. Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz also in. So I'm at a 5th place once again of the Grand Prix. Hopefully now we can get past Ricciardo on the Mistral straight. Upwards of 220 miles an hour as we head down the first half of this straight. The Lance Stroll seems to be struggling even more than Daniel Ricciardo and myself here, as again we tried to get the power out of the second half of the back straightaway there. We are now finally dipping into the sub 50 seconds Sector 2 splits, but we're not going to be close enough to Ricciardo to go for anything as we head down in through Sector 3 here. So we're probably just going to have to sit back and watch and hope that these guys dive into the pits. We want to try and take these tyres a couple of laps longer, if possible, before we then move on to a set of the mediums. I know the game is recommending a soft, medium, medium strategy. Might try and look at a soft, medium, soft, if possible there. As you can see now, the other 3 drivers into the pits now. Just myself and Hamilton still out in this Grand Prix, trying to just go a little bit longer here in Paul Ricard, but our teammate already has a 10.5 second race lead over myself. He's looking feisty. There we go. Lewis Hamilton into the pits at the end of lap 7 here, so he is definitely starting to struggle on those softs. And to be honest, although despite setting purple and green sectors, they definitely feel like the grip is starting to run out as well for myself here. At the final corner, down towards the finish line, it's going to be a 30.2, so we lost about half a second in that final sector here. Is Hamilton going to still be out in the net lead? Verstappen stayed out, obviously, because he started outside the top 10. I think Hamilton has, because it looks like the Mercedes are in quite a bit of traffic here, so that could work out really nicely for both myself and our teammate here, as we've just been able to find a bit of clear track space. Yeah, coming towards the end of lap 8, not much bite in those front tyres anymore as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. We are obviously going to dive it in to the pits at the end of this lap, a little bit scruffy on the way in. Remember, it's 37 miles an hour, Matt. I almost completely forgot about that. As we head now into the pit lane for our first of 2 stops here. Max Verstappen might be looking quite feisty if he's on a 1 stop, but Hamilton, yeah, just at the back of this little train. I'm hoping we come out just ahead of the Williams there, behind, I think it's Valtteri Bottas still, behind his teammate who's just in that other pack of cars. A 2.4 second stop though. Can't complain too much about that. There goes Bottas as well. Are we going to get ahead of Giovinazzi? It's going to be incredibly close as we head out of the pit lane. I think we're just about going to do it here. Giovinazzi thinks about setting it up the inside through the first corner, but we'll back him at a P14, and that gap has really come down to the likes of Bottas and co, who are stuck in all this traffic. So suddenly, this race doesn't look so bad for us once again here. Now we just need to keep our head down and focus. Here we go then, Bottas and I just closing up to the back of this train there. So I think, yeah, there is George Russell still stuck in the middle of it, so hopefully we can try and work together for a couple of laps here, and maybe try and capitalise on Bottas as well, as we've got a good run out onto the Mistral straight here. Bottas just behind Jordan King, our former teammate. I can't imagine he's going to do us too many favours. 220 miles an hour as we head down the back straightaway there, but can we try and line up a move on Valtteri Bottas here? You can see George Russell trying to make moves on the other Alfa Romeo there as we try to look to the outside of Bottas. He's giving us a big squeeze as we head through turn 10 there, and unfortunately, yeah, get barged way out wide in towards the corner here, so no chance of making a move there as Matsushita just getting jumped by George Russell here, who now pretty much seems to find himself at the front of this train. Bottas, though, sat behind Jordan King. Can we try and make a move around the outside? Work where we span earlier on? Yes, we can. And we should be back up into a net P3 this Grand Prix. No, Bottas hasn't given up on this one just yet as we head down in towards the final corner there. Bottas really forcing us out over the curbing through that final corner there, and that has not given us a run, and I thought we'd made that move work. But Bottas not having absolutely any of it as we head out of the final corner there. He's going to hold on to that P13 at the moment, but we desperately need to get through this little pack of cars here, these back markers really, when you think about it. Alfa Romeo and Haas still very much back marker cars just ahead of the Williams there, as George Russell seems to be making his final overtake on Kevin Magnussen there. So he's now free to try and romp away up the field there, but Bottas and I have still got a lot of work to be done as we head out onto the back straightaway. Once again, we've got another good run onto the Mistral straight on the pair of them here. Jordan King going defensive. We might have to Ricardo Zonta him as we head up the back straightaway there, and that looks like exactly what we've done. To the outside, they're still both there. We do get a little bit of contact from Jordan King, but we've pulled off the move and Bottas hasn't, so that is absolutely wonderful for our Grand Prix. Then we've got another good run on Nick de Vries now as we head up in towards turn 10. Again, we're going to get another big squeeze. Try and be a bit braver this time round around the outside of the Haas man as we just get blocked in behind Matsushita here. So this is all getting a little bit close as we head in towards the halfway stage of the Grand Prix there. De Vries cannot get the traction down though in that Haas car there as we head through the final couple of corners. So we are now up into 11th place here. Can we try and get a run on Matsushita? Just covering the move off, but we'll go right around the outside through the final couple of corners here. A bit braver than we were on Bottas, and we're up into 10th. We're back up into the points of this Grand Prix. Next up, K-Mag here, as we've got some DRS and some ERS still, and look at the overspeed on Kevin Magnussen down in towards the first corner. Magnussen tries to keep the nose there. We have to give him the room. Run way too deep through the first corner. That might allow him a bit of a run back, but we got the power on the exit of the corner. Russell, though, was pulled like 3.5 seconds over that lap, but Bottas is still stuck at the rear of this train. Going to the end of lap 12, all those medium runners from the start into the pits. So they are now probably trying to go to the end of the Grand Prix here by the looks of it. Yeah, all onto the hard compounded tyres. So it's going to move us back up into P4 there. Only Danny Kvyat still out from the start of this Grand Prix. So it is going to be interesting to see where all those guys end up, because, well, I mean, we are still in the direct battle with them, and we've still got to pit again. However, more focused on trying to take time out of George Russell, as we seem to be getting ever closer to the Mercedes on some older medium rubber. Oh, Hamilton into the pits. So has he done a double soft stint in this Grand Prix? Did I completely not spot that from our teammate there? Or has he picked up some from wing damage? I've got no idea what is going on between Lewis Hamilton and the team strategy so far this weekend there. But Hamilton back into the pit lane there. Hopefully he's going on... Yeah, he was on softs. So I take it he's going to go mediums. No, he's on hards to the end of the Grand Prix there. So not too sure what the strategy the team have tried to come up with here. But it's given Hamilton a big lead early on. But surely now, between now and the end of the Grand Prix, Russell, Bottas and I are going to be taking a lot of time out of my teammate. Heading on to lap 17, we're closing down the gap to George Russell. As you can see, we're now definitely nested inside the DRS here. But Bottas is the first of the top three to blink and come back into the pit lane here, so we should have a rough idea of where he's going to be in this Grand Prix. But I'm going to guess then George Russell is going to be in at the end of this lap, so he's going to be a lot quicker than us for a couple of laps here, whilst we try and get onto the soft compounded tyres to the end of this race there. Hamilton, though, not really taking any time out of any of us on his fresh rubber here, but we got a good run on George Russell, not quite close enough to go for anything at the end of the back straightaway there. If it was the last lap, maybe I would have tried to go for a dive, but 10 laps to go here still from Paul Ricard will slot back into position for now. There we go. George Russell into the pits at the end of lap 17. So we now really need to try and keep our head down and keep this rubber in a good phase for the next couple of laps before we make our call into the pits. So I'm thinking end of lap 19 into the pits, 8 to go. Coming down through the final couple of corners of lap 19 then, getting ready to make our last pit stop of the Grand Prix. Strategy has been quite a weird and wonderful one here today from Circuit Paul Ricard. Make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidily into the pits this time around. So we got yellow flags out for one of the Renaults. That's not good at the home Grand Prix. I'm going to guess that's Raikkonen, but could we get a late race safety car here from Paul Ricard? Yes, we do! A safety car with just a few laps to go from the French Grand Prix. That has completely changed this race there, but it is poor Esteban Ocon, homeboy, and his home race for his home team out of this race there. But that is going to move us straight back up into P2 here in Paul Ricard. No, it's not. Verstappen's going to get round us, but we are going to be out ahead of George Russell here. So that has been a beautifully timed pit stop for myself in this French Grand Prix there, and this could really open up an opportunity to take back-to-back race victories. So coming towards the end of lap 21 then, we've got 6 laps to go here from Paul Ricard, and Hamilton is going to be setting the pace. Why wouldn't the game let me go? There we go, thank you very much. The manual control really does just need to be a thing on safety car restarts here, but Hamilton, yeah, leads the way. Verstappen from 13th on the grid, running in a very, very good P2 here, but it's going to be a miracle if he can hang on there. We're on fresh soft compounded tyres right behind the 2 hard compound runners just in front of us. Surely this is a case of when rather than if we are going to be into the lead of this Grand Prix there. Hamilton, though, is going to get things going again as we head out of the final corner. We've got to be careful on the cold rubber as we try and get the car started once again there. But Russell really dropping back off the start there. We've got a mega run on Verstappen as we head down in towards the first corner here. Not quite got the confidence on the brakes just yet on this cold rubber there, but Verstappen, surely there's not going to be much he can do against us as we head out onto the Mistral straight there, going defensive in towards turn 3 and turn 4. Oh, that was parked on the apex by Verstappen there. We were lucky we didn't run into the back of him, and that's allowed Russell to sneak by as we head out on towards the back straightaway there. So this is not what we needed off the restart. Hamilton has romped away once again there, but Verstappen all over the road in his Ferrari car there. Clearly doesn't quite have the confidence that we were expecting from the former Red Bull driver there as we head up in towards the first chicane there. Not been the restart we wanted then, and things have just been made a little bit more difficult once more here.
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Russell having a look up the inside of Verstappen there through the infamous turn 10. We might try and follow him by. No, Verstappen was never allowing us any room into there, as Russell has already done what we weren't able to of this safety car restart. You can just see though Verstappen so desperate to defend from him. I'm not too sure what this is all about from the young Dutchman there as we head in towards the final sector of the lap. Can we try and hook up a run right around the outside? No, we can. Really just cannot seem to find a way around the Dutch Ferrari driver here as we head out of the final corner. Use all the ERS. Hamilton, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. We go to the outside of Verstappen though, down in towards turn 1 there. The team, for whatever reason, want us to pit again, but we've now dispatched the Verstappen. Let's see if we can close back up to Russell. Coming through the final couple of corners of lap 23. Oh, George Russell not getting the power down at the final corner like I'm sure he would have wanted there. Hopefully we're going to set the new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Yes, we do, a 27.8. Right behind George Russell though as we head down in towards turn 1 here, and both of us are just taking time out of my teammate Lewis Hamilton here. Hopefully we won't hold each other up too much on these next couple of laps if either of us want a shot at the race victory here. But more importantly for me, our title rival Bottas, way down the order still, barely inside the top 10 if I'm not mistaken here, with just 4 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Can we now get a run on George Russell? Now DRS has been re-enabled here. Yes, we can, to the outside of George Russell there in this Grand Prix. And we're back up into P2 here in Paul Ricard. 3.5 laps to go here. Surely we can get around Lewis Hamilton. 2 laps to go then here from Paul Ricard, and Hamilton really trying to throw absolutely everything at it. The 7-time Formula 1 World Champion has had a big slump in form in the last couple of seasons, but he's hoping maybe, just maybe, this could be his year there. But he's won 2 Grand Prix this season. We've only had 1 to our name so far, but we have got the DRS on our teammate here, but he is throwing absolutely everything with the car at the moment there. George Russell's still right behind as well. So if we want to make a move work, we've got to make it work really nice and cleanly here. But we've only got a couple more opportunities to make anything happen here, and we are just still sat behind my teammate in the dirty air. Coming through the final corner then, ready to start the final lap here from Paul Ricard, and I really have got no idea which way this is going to go now. Hamilton seems to be finding so much grip still on these hard compounded tyres here, and these softs, we've definitely pushed them to the absolute limit of the restart here. Already feel like they're starting to just run out of grip just a little bit here. We are going to get one opportunity down at the Mistral Straight to try and make something work here, and could it be an absolute robbery of a Grand Prix from Hamilton? He's dominated this entire weekend up to this point, but the safety car really did come in clutch for ourselves here. Can we get a good run out onto the back straight? We're about half a second back here. We're going to use all of our ERS to try and make something work, but Hamilton, he's not losing that much ground to us. He does still have very good top end speed there. He goes defensive in towards the chicane there, and there's nothing we can make work on the entry there. George Russell now trying to get involved in the action as well here. We're still going to have a good chunk of ERS to use down this second straight there, but look at that, George Russell right behind us as well here as we head through the infamous turn 10 for the final time in this Grand Prix. Hamilton just sits on the exit of the corner there. George Russell again trying to look for a move there as we just run a little bit wide through in towards the final couple of corners here. George Russell might be costing us a chance at race victory here as we've got just a couple more corners to go in this Grand Prix, and I think Hamilton's done it. I think Hamilton might be safe here as we've got one more corner to go here in this race. George Russell desperate to try and chuck the nose up the inside. We defend through the final corner. Can we get the power down? It's going to be a drag race. No, it's not. George Russell backs out of it right at the last moment there, and it's going to be another 1-2 for the team. Thank you very much.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
Welcome then to the podium, our top three drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race. So, let's review the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Well, you've put me in a bit of a tight spot today, but I think I'll go for Pierre Gasly. He kept a cool head under pressure and made the most of some difficult circumstances.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The owner-drivers team moved to the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the Mclaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
Well, there we are then, guys. Hamilton, pole position, race victory there. But, yeah, we had a really good chance at the win there. I'll be honest, pretty much only because, obviously, the safety car came out at the perfect time for us towards the end of that Grand Prix. But third to second in the end with the fastest lap means we only lose 6 points to Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' World Championship. 3 wins in a row now for the team. Are we starting to have a little bit more comfortable gap of performance over Mercedes there? George Russell in P3 there certainly did give us a good run for our money in the end ahead of Lando Norris in P4. Makes it a British 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end of the day there. Surely, I don't think that's happened so far this season there. If only Jordan King did some miracle results with Alfa Romeo there. But Pierre Gasly, homeboy, 15th to 5th in the end there. A fantastic job done by him. Verstappen dropping back right at the very end there. I thought he was on for P4 there. But poor old Valtteri Bottas, another 13 points lost in the Drivers' World Championship battle there, just finishing ahead of Perez, Kvyat and Albon, getting 1 point for Red Bull, still one more than Daniel Ricciardo was able to get at the end of that race there. Raikkonen in 11th, ahead of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc there for Ferrari. Another disappointing result there with, like I said, Ricciardo 14th, De Vries, Stroll, Magnussen being only him and Hamilton to finish where they started there, ahead of both Alphas and both Williams there, with Esteban Ocon the only man not to make it to the checkered flag there. That means championship-wise, we have now got a perfect race wins margin over Valtteri Bottas in the World Championship, so things are starting to really look up at the moment for 212 Motorsport there. Bottas still P2, Hamilton leapfrogs himself right the way up into P3 there, 4 points ahead of George Russell, who's a further 3 points ahead of Alex Albon there. Ricciardo down to 6th place there on 103, 64 points back there, with Sainz still comfortably up in 7th place there. Verstappen makes some big gains there. Lando Norris jumps back past Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc, though, up into 9th place there, and you can see Pierre Gasly gets the move done on Lance Stroll as well there. And constructors-wise, though, we're still now top of the standings there, 30 points clear of Mercedes. Red Bull really dropping back at the moment. They're 71 points back now as McLaren jump Ferrari as best of the rest there. AlphaTauri get the move done on Renault as well there, with Alfa Romeo and Williams still the only teams yet to score. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourselves subscribed. And yeah, be back here very, very soon where we head to the halfway stage of Season 4. We head to the Austrian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.